Hey, this is Alex Rowley for the Psychology of Addiction Counseling class for Aspen University. This is assignment 3, the case analysis for Pedro. Okay, so Pedro is a 24-year-old Mexican-American male. He is an Army veteran. It looks like he served in Iraq and was hit with an IED when he was over there. So, as a result of that, he has possible post-traumatic stress disorder, and he does have a head injury, a traumatic brain injury. After he got back, he experienced feelings of disconnect with his family and friends. He had problems with insomnia, lack of motivation. He was experiencing flashbacks as well of combat, and he was having a hard time maintaining employment. He's lucky enough to have a fellow veteran give him a job at a grocery store, but he's having a hard time focusing, and it might not be too long until he gets let go of that job. He's suffering possible alcohol dependence. He's involved in a DUI and a car accident on the same case. He had 3 separate assessments done. He scored high on alcohol dependence on all 3. In order to make it look good in the court's eyes, he's agreed to get those assessments done, and he is prepared to do an intake and assessment for his post-traumatic stress, and he's on the waiting list for an inpatient treatment facility. The only issue with treatment with him is he is uncomfortable with attending AA in his area. So that's just a little bit of background on Pedro. So what would a treatment plan for Pedro look like if you followed through with the counselor's recommendation for inpatient alcohol dependence treatment? I think it's really important to figure out if his PTSD and some of his other mental issues came first, or if his drinking came first. According to the information in the assignment, it looks like the PTSD and the insomnia and those issues came first. So it would be very important to treat that as well as his alcohol dependence. You know, it's one of those situations, what came first, the chicken or the egg? Well, in this case, his mental issues were caused by his service over there in Iraq. So I believe that it would be best to focus on his mental health treatment as well as his substance abuse treatment. There's a high rate of comorbidity when it comes to substance abuse issues and mental health issues. So it's important that we try to treat Pedro for both of those, treatment in a holistic way that is taking care of his physical well-being, his mental well-being, spiritual well-being, and then what cross-cultural considerations may need to be addressed in this case. Let's see. It says that he is a Mexican-American male, came from a family of immigrants, and he is an Army veteran. I've had a little bit of interaction with some Army veterans in the place that I work at. It's a mental health crisis center, and a lot of them, they have a lot of pride in their service, and not all the time. I don't want to put a blanket statement out, but some of them are hesitant in getting help. They see mental health issues and substance abuse issues as kind of a weakness sometimes, and I think that might be why Pedro is hesitant in seeking help through Alcoholics Anonymous in his area, because he doesn't want people to see him there. But I think it's very important that he gets enrolled in a treatment center that specializes in substance abuse and PTSD. There's a lot of treatment centers out there that focus solely on substance abuse, and they use the disease model of addiction, which, not that I'm saying there's anything wrong with that, but they just focus on that. Where we know now through further research that it's the norm for people that have a substance abuse disorder to also have a mental health disorder. So I think that it'd be best to try to get him into a inpatient that focuses on both. And as far as the Alcoholics Anonymous meeting attendance goes, there are other meetings in his area. There's Narcotics Anonymous, which he could still go to. There's Rational Recovery. There's Smart Recovery, which has a strong base in cognitive behavioral therapy. There's Life Ring. There's Refuge Recovery, which is like a Buddhist-oriented meditation and addiction treatment support group. So there's many meetings that he can go to. If the issue is that he just doesn't want to see people that he might know, they do offer online meetings as well. So I think that would be the best, to try to encourage him to go to meetings, whether it's online or in person, and then try to get him into a treatment center that will focus on both of his issues, being, PTSD and substance abuse. It's going to be hard to only treat one of those and expect the other one to get better too. That's not generally what happens. He needs to get help for both of those issues. And then I think that as far as his other cultural considerations that may need to be addressed in this case, it may help to get him involved in a support group for veterans as well, so he feels comfortable. He's talking to people that he relates to that share a similar story to him, so I think that would be best as well. All right, thanks. Bye.